The first bill on the calendar for today is House File 4670. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 4670, an act relating to claims number 2 on the calendar for the day, the first engrossment.
I recognize the author of the bill, Representative Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the committee or members of the House of Representatives, this is the annual claims bill that comes before you from the joint subcommittee of 3 people from the House and 3 people from the Senate that review hundreds of claims against the state of Minnesota and make recommendations for their payment or denial. It is, as I said, a subcommittee of the Legislative Coordinating Committee. The process is not established by the joint subcommittee. We just follow the patterns that have proceeded in previous years of how to arrive at our decisions. We review the recommendations from the various agencies that have not paid the claims when they received the applications from people who think the state owes them something because of something happened that wasn't usual, and the state is responsible. There's a form that they fill out. The agency goes through it first. Then somebody else goes through it. The commissioners go through it. And then, as a last resort, it comes to the joint subcommittee. And when we receive those, we receive them in binders like this, only fatter. And this year we received 2 binders. And Representative Frederick and Representative Quam and I met in meeting at the joint meeting with Senator Anderson and Senator Carlson and Senator Dornick, and we talked about the recommendations that were in dispute, and we narrowed them down to fewer than we usually do. And we agreed 100%. The joint subcommittee did on the various things that came for a final vote. As a result of what happened with the claims bill last year, I spoke with the minority and told them about the process, that the process had not changed, and that the claims bill was coming up again. The minority got back to me and said, you can do the exonerations, but you cannot do the others, because we have to have a change in the process. As I said, the subcommittee can't change the process. And so that should be taken to, in my opinion, that should be taken to the Legislative Coordinating Committee in the interim after sine die this year and before we start again next year, and straighten out how the process should be done differently. As a result of that, when the bill came to Ways and Means, I asked for the bill to be split and the exonerations be passed. And that's what we have today. We have a bill that will pay the applicants who applied to the state, who were wrongly imprisoned, and who have a claim against the state of Minnesota. And those are three individuals, Brian Bemboom, Benjamin Joseph Hill, and Joseph Z. Livingston. And I ask for your support and your vote on these exoneration claims.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File Number 4670.
Third reading. Discussion. To the representative from Olmsted, Representative Qualm.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. We're human beings. We're not perfect. We all have our sins. Society decides which sins there should be punishment for. This committee is sort of the last resort if there's not a court option or any other options when they've been exhausted, or for certain cases in the corrections facilities. I happened to chair the first time we had exoneration claims, and it was brought up that some of these people were bad people that had done other things, but they were found not to be guilty of this crime. And just like we would want every judge, we on that committee have to determine what the law is and what the facts are and move forward with recommendations. That's independent of whether we like the person or not. In fact, I would hope a judge would also have the opinion whether they like the way the law was written or not, because you have to determine what the law and the process is. If a person has been exonerated for a crime, there is a process and there's code defining the compensation. The ones that we didn't have in this bill before us on the floor, if a person, while they're incarcerated, works in the shop and loses a finger, there's a formula for the compensation. That's the process, that's the SOP, that's the law that we followed. But lately, there's been a concern about this person's crime, this sin was really bad. So we should not be giving them anything. Justice, whether it's a judge, a jury, or us in the legislature, needs to be independent of what our personal feelings are. It has to be on what the law is and the circumstances. While I didn't like what some of the people that had claims come forward were convicted and were serving time for, I voted, and the committee voted, to say we are determining by what the rules are and not a prejudice against your sin. You're already in jail because of that sin and that conviction. I hope that in the future we can bring forward the whole bill and include the unbiased, impartial determination according to the rules and the law, so that if a person's in prison, they get fair treatment no matter what their crime is. So if they have an accident in the shop and lose a finger, they get the same compensation no matter why they're in that prison or in that shop. So I'm going to vote for this bill. I am somewhat disappointed that we don't have the full bill, because if we do our duty appropriately, we have to determine within the rules. Thank you.
Further discussion to the bill? Further discussion? To the bill author, Representative Murphy.
Please vote.
All right. There being no further discussion, the clerk will take the roll. Members, please vote. Will the clerk please call the names of the members who have not voted yet?
Agbadje.
Agbadje votes aye.
Agbadje, aye. Bolden. Bolden. Burkle.
Burkle, no.
Burkle, no. Frazier.
Frazier votes aye.
Frazier, aye. Frederick.
Frederick, aye.
Frederick, aye. Hamilton.
Hamilton.
Didn't get it. Hamilton.
Aye.
Hamilton, aye. Hassan.
Hassan, aye.
Hassan, aye. Houseman.
Houseman, aye.
Houseman, aye. Hollins.
Hollins, aye.
Hollins, aye. Keeler.
Keeler, aye.
Keeler, aye. Creshaw.
Grisha, no.
Creshaw, no. Lucero.
Lucero, no.
Lucero, no. McDonald.
McDonald, no.
McDonald, no. Miller.
Miller, aye.
Miller, aye. Moran.
Moran, aye.
Moran, aye. Nelson N.
Nelson N, no.
Nelson N, no. Pinto.
Aye.
Pinto, aye. Sandsted.
Sandsted, aye.
Sandsted, aye. Schumacher.
Schumacher, no.
Schumacher, no. Thompson. Thompson. Erdahl.
Erdahl, aye.
Erdahl, aye. Vang.
Vang, aye.
Vang, aye. Speaker Hortman.
Speaker Hortman, aye.
Speaker Hortman, aye. Bolden. Bolden. Thompson. Thompson.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 83 ayes and 43 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to.